Peace and hair grease, my sisters and brothers from Salon Life TV. I want to welcome you guys again to another segment, and this time reviewing an incident that kind of lit up YouTube, Facebook, everything this week, and Facebook is where I saw it. So, as the title of the video says, deny or defend. That is the catch 22 of satisfying the client versus upholding the law. For all my cos, barbs, estheticians, nail techs, it's no news to us. Some of us actually feel it's a bone of contention. Me, I'm an advocate for the law because it's the one thread that keeps us regulated. However, for consumers who don't actually know, we are bound by laws as licensed professionals we are. I'm 28 years in this industry, licensed right now and living in Florida. I am a 15-year licensed cosmetology instructor from the state of Alabama. I've also been licensed in Tennessee when I worked there briefly years ago as an instructor, and licensed briefly when I lived there in Georgia as a master cosmetologist. So licensing wise, I've been around the board. That's a total of 4 states. Roughly 15 years ago is when I became a licensed instructor, and I followed my doctor's advice and decided to move from excruciating hours on end from behind the chair, and I pursued my teaching career. The year that I got diagnosed with lupus, I have SLE, which is the more serious form of the two known right now forms of lupus. Discoid, which is the incident in the video that we're going to get into about the client who was denied a service because she had lupus scars on her arm at a nail salon. She has discoid lupus, I have SLE. So I, for one, sympathize with her as a lupus warrior or survivor. I have had bouts of different types of flare-ups over the years, but the main constant that I have to deal with is RA, rheumatoid arthritis. More so that I take absolutely no rheumatoid arthritis medication at 44. I've never been diagnosed, I've never been prescribed RA medication because my RA is lupus induced. So my doctors do a good job and stay with me and on top of me, making sure that we treat the lupus. Most any other subsequent issues will take care of themselves, at least in my body and with my diagnosis, it has done so. And I have not been on a downward spiral with anything else. So when you hear the worst case scenarios of people dying from kidney failure and things of that nature, 9 times out of 10, they were underdiagnosed, misdiagnosed, or didn't know they had the disease altogether. With that being said, you can get lupus flare-ups and scars on the skin, which is discoid. Case in point, Heidi Klum's ex-husband Seal, and the scarring that he has now is permanent around his face because he had discoid lupus as a child. Um, my preteen years between about 10 up until about 12, every year like clockwork. Um, Going outside, playing out with the kids, hot, blazing sun, in the middle of Alabama, like clockwork. I'm passing out, laid out all the time. Couldn't get enough water, couldn't stand in the shade long enough, didn't know what was going on. I began to get flare-ups in different places on my skin, around my face, had to take medication. The doctors told my parents I just had bad skin. I had dermatitis. Keep her out of the shade, keep her with enough water. It was just more or less a bone of contention with me because, and the things that the kids picked on me because I had to sit in the house and watch outside the window like, I want to be out there with y'all playing, but I couldn't. I had this disease that we didn't even know then was lupus, but it was flare-ups of the disease during that time. So this many years later, I do know that the sun is not my best friend. When I go out, when I work out, it's very early in the morning or very late at night. Once the sun is no longer shining at its highest point. That being out of the way, no one is talking about lupus being a contrainable disease, communicable disease. And knowing if one particular blister on your arm or your hand is this type of disease or that type of disease because so many diseases have very similar symptoms. And lupus being a Latin word, in and of itself, the definition means wolf. Case in point, wolf in sheep's clothing. I personally went through about 10 months of testing and doing away with this, being tested for that, doing away with that before my doctors finally pinpointed my issue to be lupus. The average person cannot diagnose a disease on site. That is not our job. However, laws in the salon profession, we have scope of practice laws that are enforced through our national arm that all states report to, the National Interstate Council of State Boards of Cosmetology, the NIC for short. A few years ago, began instilling and imparting what scope of practice means. That means that there is a definitive term and it has to be in writing, verbatim, for public view in all of our laws on what the definition of your license and where your statute particularly is with that license. What you are able and not able to legally do as a licensed individual and as a licensed establishment. So in the video of the client being refused a manicure service, and from her own mouth, she says that they gave her the pedicure but refused to give the manicure because of the open blistering she had present on her arm. She went into 100+ degree weather as a 15-year patient with lupus, with obvious no coverings on her lower arm extremities or forearms where she had the blisters to come up because of the heat. Why she took that chance, I'm not sure, but I can tell you that lupus flare-ups are not instantaneous, and they are not automatic, and they are not consistent, and they're not all the time. Let's put that out there. So let's just say she felt she can kind of dart in and out to get her nails done and not have a problem. Well, this day she did. In that instance, the nail salons were absolutely right, and I will support them. I do not want to see anything else online about this being a color issue, a race issue, a anything else issue other than us protecting our industry. They were absolutely right and bound by law to deny the service to the client because of the open wounds and blisters. In her video, she says that she still didn't understand why they didn't perform the manicure because she didn't have the blistering on her fingers. Manicurists and cosmetologists, we know within our scope of practice that a manicuring service extends from the fingers to the forearm up to the elbow joint. That is all you are able to allow to work on for the sake of performing an arm and hand massage and immersing the fingers for the sake of completing the actual manicuring service. But that is the actual anatomy of what we study on doing it. Doing a pedicure would be the same. Tips of the toes up to the knee cap and you stop. So we have certain areas and certain parts of the body that we can work on and perform a service. So outside of it being a problem with the language barrier, and I believe their attorney, Scott Wellman, that was representing the nail salon Happy Nails in Laguna Beach, I believe, um, did a good job of saying that the law is just very clear. There is absolutely no service to be performed on any obvious broken or braided skin. The law doesn't say that we have to diagnose what disease you have, or we even have to ask you what disease that may be present. If you disclose it, great. But no services are to be performed, and that falls under our scope of practice. That also falls under universal precautions that are outlined by the CDC, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, for salons and barbershops being one of the last industries to have physical contact with human beings on a daily basis. Universal precautions requires us to treat any blood or body fluid, potentially visible, not visible, as if it is contagious for pathogenic bacteria. That pathogenic bacteria, which then can be transmitted from one person to the next. All of that is what we call methods of transmission, and when we have to prevent the spread of those diseases through infection control methods in the salon, it is called methods of decontamination. So I wanted to make sure that I brought something to the table, again, informative, for clients to understand that there is a two-way road, as creative and fun and fly as we love to make our hair and our makeup and our nails look and be on fleek and all that great stuff. All of that goes out the window if we do not practice proper sanitation in our salon. And at times that means we may have to deny a service because a client shows or possibly has an issue that could or could not put the entire salon, all of the licensees, and other clients at risk. We simply cannot do it. So I do commend the salon for giving her the pedicure where she had no obvious signs of broken skin or braided skin. And if they went a step further and said that she could come back and she could get a manicuring service once her sore is healed. So if she knows that the flare up because of the lupus happens instantaneously, the skin breaks open, they ooze, they pus, they dry up, they close, she could have just simply came back. If it was miscommunication, she should have asked, or if they could have put it in front of her, as most states do tell you to have your rules and regulations on site and upon demand, she could have easily just Googled it. I'm going to put in the link a couple things for California specifically. Their Board of Cosmetology, which is the California Board, State Board of Cosmetology and Barbering. A link will be there. If you guys want to study it, go grab it. There is, I think, a two-page document that I researched that talks about infection control. And these are all public documents again. California is one of those states where they tie into their Consumer Affairs Division. So if you have questions about what should go on inside of a salon, health and cleanliness, things of that nature, then the information is out there. They do the same for restaurants, hospitals, so forth, so on. So with that being said, the third article that I researched specifically outlines, or it outlines more of an explanation of some of the descriptions and definitions that we have to make sure that we're mindful of as professionals. One of those things in that document talks about disease and infestation and infection. Again, we cannot diagnose. We're not going to make the client feel bad, and we can't prejudge or discriminate. But what we can do is stand on the law. When it says we can or cannot do a service, you don't do it. It is not worth you losing your license. It's not worth you getting a fine. It's not worth you having to go before the board. It's not worth you having any other kind of civil judgment because we just don't know. It's best to be safe than sorry. With that being said, again, I want to commend Happy Nails for at least standing on the law, Scott Wellman, their attorney, for standing behind the salon. And unfortunately, on behalf of everyone, if it was just a means of miscommunication and a client very heartfelt crying, my heart goes out to her. But again, as a survivor of lupus, when I've had nodules that pop up on my fingers because of the RA, I don't bother with getting my nails filled in until the swelling is down and they're going away because they can break open enough and rupture the skin and look very similar to when I've nicked myself with my own shears. So I just steer clear of that. So it's no question to anyone else, and I don't have to spend the time breaking down what is lupus and what's not lupus, and this kind of lupus causes RA, and this kind of lupus causes this, and another kind of lupus causes that. I just steer clear of it. With that being said, infection control is a really serious thing with us in a salon. Licensed professionals, please stand on your license. Don't let anyone ever make you doubt what you should be doing. And again, I can commend that salon for not doing the service and not taking a lady's money and putting other people at risk. There are plenty unethical, even though they're licensed, unethical people out here that could have cared less what her hair and her skin looked like, whether she was infectious or not, and did a service and passed it on. And what if that happened to be just the day that you had maybe an undercover agent that works for the board that sometimes they come in and pose as clients, or an inspector on her route and she stops into the salon that day as you're giving that service, and upon sight, prima facie is the law for most states. Prima facie upon first glance or at first glance. If they see a banned tool, an item, or you're doing an unregulated service, no question about it, you're going to be cited and possibly fined. So we have to make sure that we keep our professionalism as a high priority when we are defending the law, therefore defending ourselves. In the instance that it comes out as a denial to the client to receive a service, but we should at least make them aware of why we have to deny the service. Again, I wanted to make sure that this video was informative and it gave people a little bit more insight into what happened, because I do know that I think it was Yelp that the salon was getting a lot of bad reviews. And again, people jump to conclusions. They don't really have all the facts. And as far as our industry, a lot of general people do not know that there are laws that pertain to what and how we do what we do. So with that being said, for everyone that views this video, if you are a licensed professional, please help me continue to spread the word as I advocate and educate for our industry. This is my lifeblood, and I'm sure it is yours. And this is how we live, breathe, eat, take care of our families. For me, buy medication, pay for my hospital visits, and I've stayed alive for 15 years dealing with lupus. Go to change.org and look up the hashtag oppose salon licensing repeal. If those professional nail techs had not known the law and had been unlicensed nail techs themselves, they would have given the service and taken a lady some money and given another service to another client and taken someone else's money when they did have an infectious disease. We're not here to diagnose diseases. We're here to make sure that we can keep the salon safe for the general public. That is what we do. Your artistic work, your creative work comes after that. If you have any other questions, email the Board of Cosmetology in California. They're really good about getting back out to you. Leave your comments below. Please like and subscribe this video. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. As I'm dropping things, you'll be able to just help salon life stay alive. We're just trying to kick up steam, but this is some of the things out there that I do want to tackle. This is about advocacy. This is about education. It's about awareness. It's about product brands and reviews and all of that and everything as well. But for the most part, in order for my industry sisters and brothers to stay well respected, we have to stay licensed. There are people out there now that are trying to deregulate our industry, and I, for one, am not having it. We have states, probably about half of what we are at now. 23 or 24 states or so within the past 5 or 10 years have had legislation to try to go up. Thankfully, it's been shot down to take away our licensing and our education and regulatory boards as we know it. And if that happens, then how can you put your trust in the hands of an unlicensed professional, someone that does nails because they've been educated to know what certain signs and symptoms of disorders and diseases are, plain and simple, and we're not to do them in the salon, versus someone who's licensed and they know when it's time to deny a service. Case in point, outside of this particular client right here, being denied a service for something that the nail salon had every legal right to do. Could be the difference in someone having dandruff and having head lice. We cannot, under any circumstances, perform services in the salon where any type of pathogenic bacteria, any type of infestation, any type of um, disease, infectious, communicable, contrainable, and anything that prevents the service from going as it should. In this lady's case in point, it was not an issue of a communicable disease, but a contrainable disease. That's different. That's in the instance where you have an issue, something going on with the body, which deems it not suitable to pursue the service. And again, happy nails. Congratulations to you for upholding the law and standing on everything that you've been trained to do. So with that being said, you guys, thanks so much for tuning in to Salon Life TV. Check us out on Facebook, YouTube. Go back and watch some of the older videos. Again, like and subscribe, share, hit your notification button. And, Monica Boglin here on LinkedIn, Miss B, the teacher, on Twitter and Instagram. Facebook is Oya Osun, or Facebook is Salon Life TV. Check me out. Keep following. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you guys later. Check the link in the bio. If you don't see it there, you'll see it below. I'll drop it in my own comments on the information on the video, and where you can go and check out some of the written actual laws for the state of California, but it's really for any state. But California really has a lot of their stuff outlined, very simple and plain for you to check it out. A couple of PDFs you'll have there, and a link directly to the state board, and a link also to the original video of the lady that was denied the service. So again, when to deny or defend. In this case in point, we're taking a W for the win, for defending the law. That's what you do when you're a licensed cosmetologist and you respect and you're not going to let anybody take that away from you. Have a good day.